Welcome everyone. The topic for the day is implementation, monitoring, and leading HR operation. We will talk everything about all the functions of HRs or human resource department per se. Let's say the HR organizational models. There are plenty full of them. I can recount only 17 models that has been there, of which the important one have been marked with in a green color. Let us proceed with the 17th number thing. In terms of center of let's say, let us start with an HR leadership. Now, in HR leadership, there are four distinct model. One of that of human capital strategy. Second one with the organizational change. Third one will be performance metrics and analytics. And I reckon the important one is HR functions management. We'll talk about these things, right? We'll talk about the important one in this presentation for your understanding. Since covering all the 17 models will be a bit difficult and make this particular video a longish, which I don't want you to, which I don't want my audience to get distracted. Let us prepare a compact videos altogether. On the parameters of service centers, there are everything which is very important, very pertinent, and it's the central theme of HR. The service centers of HR is all about time and payroll. It is all about HR system and probably of reporting also. Workforce service administration, you just cannot ignore it. And last but not the least would be a talent process administration. Now, what are we looking into it? Under center of expertise, there are 7 points that needs to be taken into consideration, of which two are very vital, very important. They will be learning and sources selections and deployment of human resources. But what are the rest of the things that will not be covering around here is talent architecture, workforce optimization, organizational change, performance talent leadership, engagement and recognitions, organization architecture per se, if you want to go around it. That is what we're looking into it, inclusive of the total rewards. Under human resource business partnering systems of HR models, there are two which I have not given due significance and probably kept it beyond the purview of this particular presentation. The two models are human capital strategy for agency, remember, and performance and metrics again for the agencies, as the case might be. So let us proceed with those important 7 important aspects, namely the HR functions management, time and payroll, HR system and reporting, workforce service administration, talent process administration, learning, and sourcing, selection, and deployment. So let us start with the human capital strategy. We are looking at the human capital strategy for the organization. How do we go across with it? It is all about your talent strategy. Now, how do we define talent strategy? It is the skills and the capabilities that is required by an organization to meet these organization business obligations altogether. When they will be needed, where to be supplying the future business need, define talent management approach needed to deliver the strategies, analyze existing talent pools to determine the workforce strength and needs. That is how to develop them or mitigate plans to address the talent gaps. If there are any gaps, first and foremost, you should ensure that no gaps are available. In case if you find some gaps, try to fill it up. Let us go with the leadership strategies per se. It is all about identifying the long-term leadership capabilities needed for high performances, the succession strategy to source, develop this, and plan that aligns across the culture, talent, and organizational component, builds and expand leadership capabilities at scale for executive and leaders at all levels. Culture strategies is to assess, define of the culture on as is, when is basis, where is basis, what is the existing culture, dominant culture of the organization. You try to identify them and probably look for the desired culture that you want to mimic. So, and thereby create a roadmap. That roadmap is all your culture strategy will be. So, organizational strategies is to determine the strategy, the framework of an organization model that enables the organization to realize a strategic business objective. We'll talk about talent development and the learning strategies out here. It is aligning learning and development curriculum to the organization's vision, to the organization's culture, to the organization's requirement. It is all we are talking about human capital strategies. review your future workforce requirement. You remember, we are planning something for the future, and in the future we have a change technology perhaps, or we have to extrapolate the process, the workings of an organization. So we need to understand those things, the future competency requirements, the learning needs, identify the gaps in the current learning process, and probably address them. This is what defining learning priorities and governance of learning programs is all about it. We'll come to the HR strategies. Create an HR visions, roadmap for strategic HR functions that shatters traditional boundaries. To deliver business outcomes, define and build a scalable HR operation model. We need to go around it. That is what is tailored to business context, and build HR leadership capabilities that can effectively deliver what we are looking for. The strategies thereby, that is what needs to be understood time and again. Develop an HR technology as and when on required. So what are we looking as far as human capital strategy is all about it? We are looking to identify high risk job classes and probably work unit based on the retirement projections, develop a workforce plan, and to handle this so-called turnover, or if I may say, use the word called attrition altogether, institutionalizing knowledge loss, new tasks, skill, and probably planning for the future is what we are looking at it. Let us understand with an organizational change, design change, vision strategies, and specific communication approaches, the plan for it, all the changes that is going to be affected in the organization. So what are the topics that we go around at? There are three things. One is of change capability, change management, and organizational transformation. Now let us understand transformations of an organization per se. What do we exactly mean by it, and how do we assess it? Remember, there are visions, there are envisions, there are plans, there are management, enterprise-wide organizational change program that we need to go across it. Now we need to understand the change management process, as in the plan and executing the change initiative with the speed and agility that reckons predictive analytics. Change capability, build internal change capability to be increasingly agile and adaptive. Let us understand with the benefit. Employees are more agile, are more resilient when there is a change in your colors, or probably when there is a change in the position. People get sensitive. They needs to be understand they become a little bit reserved. They are not very open, they are not very confident whether their performance will be acknowledged or not, or whether they will shed their powers or acquire more powers. They are in a sense of transition, and that is what confuses everybody. So change efforts are more likely to be implemented successfully if people are agile, if people are resilient when change occurs. Let us come and discuss performance metrics. Now we'll talk about metrics and analytics at the same breath. We are talking about qualitative analysis of a business, advice on the realignment as the case might be. Are we talking about performance metrics? Definitely yes. That is what we're looking into it. Now we need to define the metrics, align it to the business strategy, monitor, conduct multi-dimensional analysis, identify the areas and factors for future predictive analysis, use predictive, and we have this predictive algorithms, softwares, applications which can tell it to you in which are the areas to be focused upon, which are the areas there are the red flag springs up altogether. You need to work on those specific workforces, business units, geographies, name it, and you will have it. So benefit is coordinated oversight. You will talk about it to ensure transparency and ability to assess if agencies are receiving the services for which they are being paid for or being utilized for. That is the benefit that we look forward to it. Talking about HR functions management, we need to manage and run the functions of HR. Let me tell it to you about the governance issues out there. We need to understand as on when on basis how things have been carried forward altogether. So the governance, we need to understand the principles, we need to define the principles, we need to limit the principles, and determine what should be the framework of an organization, including specific roles, specific responsibilities Be clear in black and white about your interaction forums. During your interaction forums, we can even mandate a number of frequencies of interaction forums will be held altogether. Now, this can be a process where you can solve all emerging issues, probably as a grievance handling mechanism as it can be going around it. So that is what we are looking as far as governance of an organization is concerned. Let us look about the HR talent, providing overall planning, management, and development of resources within the HR organization. Now, I'll talk about compliance issues. Establishment of internal guidelines, processes to identify, measure, report on the applicable employment and labor regulation as the case might be. We talk about the HR projects. What are they? These are nothing but plans and managing HR projects, including business development case studies, effort planning, identification of dependencies, monitoring of progresses, and so on and so forth. As far as HR financial management is concerned, probably give an overall view, a bird's eye view to plan, to forecast, to monitor everything that is for budgeted for, which which understandably comes under the purview of human resources functions, which means labor, technology, third party services, professional services, and other categories, which is all about traveling and training thereby. So, what do we look into it as far as HR functions management? What are my benefits? It gives me a coordinated oversight to ensure consistency, effectiveness, and efficiency in the daily operation thereby. Let us visit time and payroll. Now, this is one which is very important. All of a sudden, it comes to a prime importance level. Now, we need to understand every employee needs to be paid on a timely basis, and this there should be a regularity in the frequency. So, collect the employee time data sheet, payroll processing, collect the gross to net pay, conduct audit services, provide general ledger fees as the case might be, payroll administration, manage the process of data collection and customer services. Yes, we are talking about tax processing and administration, managing the process of calculating and paying the appropriate tax for the employees as the case might be. This is what we are looking for the time and payroll management. Benefits, regular payroll, regular payment, and elevated motivations of the employees per se. We come to the next model altogether. It's all about HR system and probably of reporting. We talk about it again. Remember, this is what we are need to be understanding it. We are defining the data architectures all together. We need to understand the organization wise HR data that has been forming around it and reporting the analytics part. So we need to define the data architecture, the reporting analytics, the HR system, in short, the application support. What do I mean to say around it? We need to pinpoint the metrics we are looking for it, because the metrics will give me an idea and a definitive predictive analysis of where the organization is running, or which are the areas which require much of a focus. Let us understand data architectures, the definitions thereby. We need to establish a data model, standard definition, use of data cross organization, manage the access to the data, storage, conversion mapping, and maintain the integrity as it is applicable. Let us understand with HR reporting and analytics, provide reporting capabilities to the organization, including analytics requirement, development, standards, ad hoc reporting, supports and development as the case might be. We talk about HR system, business architecture, translate business reporting requirement into the system requires, and documenting it. Most importantly, these documents will be referred in due course of time in case there are any dispute, in case there are any anomalies that comes around it. We look to have a functional design and develop and confirm test scenarios with the related scripts as per se. Talking about HR application support, where do we go around it? We are doing nothing but probably managing all the functions and applications, including security, configurations, performances, usage, monitoring, you name it, and we have it. Any pre-functions of HR, anything that is related to the operation of the organization, probably with the future orientation planning and supports of the resources. We are talking about if manpower of to be deployed, if manpower of to be required, as the case might be. Yes, this is the application that needs to be supported. Remember the benefits is to have a greater access to the reporting and the data for a faster turnaround time. That is what we are looking forward to it. A faster turnover time, as the case might be. Let us come with the work service administration. This is which is very true. Now, work service administration is basically the lifeline of HR altogether. So I would love to spend two important slides on these parameters. Let me tell it to you the workforce data management. Now, what is workforce data management? Every time an employee is employed in an organization, he or she is being basically given a employee ID per se. It's as a data thing which reflects all his cost centers to that particular data ID, popularly known as an employee ID altogether. And that is what data management will tell me. You type on those data ID and all cost accrual, profit centers, all works, incentive, and everything will be flashed out on your screen at one point. We'll talk about employee relationships. This provides a lot of indicators as to tells you what is going right with an employee. Is employee performing in a better fashion? Is he or she a star performer? Is he or she a pain in the wrong places of the organization, a slow learner? This is what your employee relationship. Based upon these outcomes, will you try to mend the relationship, go give in a training, give a feedback, coach it out, and ensure that the employee becomes an assist to the organization. We can also utilize this particular data sheets for labor relations. Basically, it manages all the union works, work council works, the management to foster harmonious bonding and cooperation along with the management relation. This is basically protecting, and should I use a word called promoting the interest of both the management and that of their unions. Now we are talking about contracts and working it out. It's a win-win situation for every one of them. Professional and industrial relations is what another aspect that needs to be taken care of, which validates a person's qualification to perform a job. Remember, many a times a profession would be industry certified. Now, this is where the industry would be telling as to what are the level of the expertise that an employee would be possessing. So it tells you about sponsorship, affiliation with professional associates. Then comes the health and safety. Yes, suppose the workforce with preventions, management, and measurement of the occupational health and safety issues. We are looking to assist and maintain a safe and an incident-free environment, work environment. Am I talking? We are talking about discipline management. Define the appropriate actions to apply in response to undesired behavior, unacceptable performance by an employee thereby. We'll talk about grievance management, another important aspects altogether. Investigate workforce concerning regarding inequitable treatment or probably something which have been used or unbiased, or should I say biased and unjust altogether towards an employee, are looking for an undesired behaviors everywhere. So this is which will relate to the decision making of the management as the case might be. The results are all of negativity and sprinkled with negativity every now and then. Or should I say there is a preconceived notion which states that things are not happening in a very transparent fashion. That is what the grievances is all about it. Next more important issues of dispute comes around is of leave management. Yes, leaves has to be accrued and it should be credited within due courses of time, and accordingly as and when the employee avails the leave, how do you go about it? So absence management is again to track unplanned, unscheduled absence from the work. This should impact the productivity of the organization. Moving to the next slide, we have the exit programs. People, when they are separating from an organization due to a host of reasons, maybe because of termination, maybe because of retirement, maybe because of resignation, maybe because of a greater greener pastures which is available to the employee, and so on and so forth. So we can have a host of reasons, maybe because they have been physically unfit for carrying up the job. So we are talking about exit program, and it need not have to be a negative connotation. We need to have a coordinated series of actions required when an employment ends, which includes distributions of the final pay, updating of the employment data record, collecting company assets, revoking company access privileges in the compliance with the government. Equal employment opportunities is investigating discrimination complaints on the basis of protected class such as race, color, sex, national origin. We can have religion, age, disability, genetic information. You can have it and we can go around it. Last but not the least is investigation that we need to perform on the workforce as so as to tell me whether the background that the workforce claim for the employee claims to be accurate and truth or not. So benefit is having a consistent, efficient, and effectiveness in our daily operation. Isn't that the wonderful benefit that comes across it? Let me take you to talent process administration. Let us understand what we are meaning by it. It is all about survey management, all about job evaluation, conducting systematic comparison with respect to the worth of our position. Talent acquisition and staffing is all about administrative support to the talent source and the staffing process. We talk about talent deployment administration, moving your workforce from one unit to another unit, from one location to another location. It is all your deployment, as wherein you are deploying talent wherever it is required at that point of time. We're talking about learning administration, getting the right people and training them and involving them. We are also including succession planning and learning administration. So performance administration are issues with performances you need to either groom up, or probably you either ship out or you ship out the employees. Compensation administration has to be relevant at par with the market trends and the should I say the work that the employee generates for the company altogether. Recognition administration is managing the people recognition program, having an affirmation status every now and then. Talent engagement administration is similarly to be done across with it. We'll talk about talent architectures. Talent definition is to define the talent, the skills, the abilities that is required. Can we have a repository of talents for the organization so that organization can always bank upon what they can do and what they cannot do? Employee value proposition is to establish values of the employees that attracts, fosters, and retain the best talent in the organization, and often conduct periodic reviews. So understand the employee pulse altogether. Inclusions and diversity, developing an inclusion and diversity strategy, because this focuses basically and optimizing human capital strategies altogether. We can have an employer brand. Yes, definitely. People would love to work for a strong brand. People would love to work for a benevolent brand altogether as far as employees are concerned. This is what we should be aspiring for. HR policies and programs will define and detail the policies thereof. The competency framework will give the definition of the competency that is required, the critical skills, the applicable behavior which is to be displayed altogether. Workforce optimization is defining and practicing optimal allocation of workforce. Let us say the workforce allocation, it identifies the business plan. Strategic workforce planning would be shaping the workforce of organization by having it into a right sizes, structures, and skill set. Operational workforce planning would be facilitating a well-defined process and forecasting the workforce demand in as on when on basis. We'll talk about workforce productivity, ensuring the productivity levels are achieved. How do we go across with it? The workforce productivity should be defined. Now we'll talk about the benefit and alignment. What are the benefit? It means that we are going to have a competent workforce, effective workforce. The business can bank upon and probably can optimize the successful outcome of the process. Let us move to the learning things. In learning, the learning needs assessment has to be done. What we call about TNA, or training need assessment, as on when on requirement. We need to have a curriculum design and a learning development plan. Now, this depends on the number of employees and how the organization is perceiving its future operation. We can have a training development plan altogether, and probably ensure that all employees, all desired employees undergoes through such kind of training. Learning design and development will be to design, develop, and probably articulate it to the requirement of the company. The learning delivery and deployment is to make training materials assessment available to the targeted workforce. Learning measurements is measuring the effectiveness and efficiency thereby. Social learning, if we can facilitate the people to work for together as a group, as the case might be, well done. Mostly your battle is already won. We are talking about collaborations as far as learning is concerned. This is what we'll be talking around it. We should ensure that we have a competent workforce in an organization. Remember, at the end of the day, organizational objectives remains to be focused upon. Benefit is having a very definitive, competitive, and confident workforce. Let's move to the total rewards, reward design. It is, employees are flocking into the organization to earn their livelihood. And if the rewards are designed in a much more competitive fashion, people would love to work for you. That is the design. The reward design is all about it. It's a high level design of reward strategy metrics to achieve the organizational effectiveness and efficiency together at one stroke. We'll talk about compensation, conducting a salary planning, probably the compensation of the performance assessment process, and communicates the compensation strategies to employees. Let's talk about the benefits, the pension outside scope, performed by retirement and benefits, design benefit pension program, establish benefit vendor relationship. We'll talk about performing program cost, benefit analysis, and coordinate employee assistance. Let us talk about well-being program, design program and strategies to enable an employee-centric workforce. Absolutely should be assured of what needs to be done, how need to be processing it all together. Let's just talk about organizational architecture. Yes, this is a time where we got to design for the job and design for the organization. We have to have the strategy fit between the job and the organization, thereby the unit, the business unit, the functions, the enterprise. We'll need to understand, design the workplace also. The designing of a workplace approach creates the best, or should I say, the wonderful environment for enabling the workforce to act or to work confidently. We should have a governance issues regarding the governance in terms of accountability, in terms of reporting, in terms of a structure. We should have a fixed notification out there, fixed understanding of what exactly the governance structure is all about. It networks and communities is bringing people together. Once in a blue moon, we should have a get together, a party, an open day, wherein basically we are trying to give a sense of belongingness to be developed among the employees thereby. So benefits in the organizational structure is working smarter. Remember, you can work smarter by optimizing resources and nothing else. Let's proceed with sourcing and selection. Now, here it is all about talent network. Where are you getting your employees from? Is it from the college, university counters? Is it an experience counter that you're looking for it? Is it to the consultant that you're looking, or it is plain simple advertisement both in the digital media and other regular traditional media formats? So that is what we are looking into it. The talent network and sourcing, the assessment and selection, the staffing and scheduling, onboarding and mobility. These are things that we go around it. We need to identify the requirements of the talent, create the job requirement, posting it up in an appropriate forums, align employee talent with visit to the requirements of the schedule, and so on and so forth, making them confident, making them relaxing when they join on board, when they come on day one, probably day week one, week 10, and so on and so forth, month 10, year 10, as the case might be. Initiating employee assessment, assignment, and providing relocations for the transfer facility. Let us understand the performance, the talent, and the leadership. What are we looking into it? Essentially, we are talking about objective setting and performance, setting a refresh programs of goals and objective as the case might be. What are we looking into it? We are talking about feedback and assessment of performances, thereby how do we go about it? Because until and unless there are proper legible feedback, people will not be motivated to move into the higher echelons. Competency assessment is all about development planning. We are talking about assessing knowledges, skills, behaviors, and expertise against the roles and objectives. We need to understand if people are falling below par, if they are not acting as expected, can we coach them? Can we mentor them? Can we have a sounding board for them so that there is a sense of support, a sense of relatedness that they can have between the organization and their expectation. So that relatedness is very much required. We talk about talent management, having probably grooming high potential candidate, definitely yes. Succession planning, definitely at key position, things needs to be should never be left unmanned. So we need a proper persons to be deputized in case things are getting a little rough or little tough altogether. We are always should have a leadership planning process. We should design a leadership approach, implement a leadership program, and so on. So, what do we get out of performance, talent, and leadership? We get a motivated workforce. We get high retention of high performers, and most importantly, it becomes easier for the organization to achieve its objective. Let us understand engagement and recognition. Every employee would love to be recognized. Every employee would love to enjoy that they are doing the work which have been appreciated by the top management, and that is the one way of retention program altogether, engagement program per se. Now that is retention program, the engagement program. You have to design programs and strategies which are employee centric, becomes an engagement program. Retention program where there are high performers need to be retained by incentivizing, recognizing, and probably increasing the visibility about their contributions toward the organization. We can also have a recognition program or extended workforce program. In recognition program, it is all about recognizing, expressing gratitude, expressing appreciation for the employee based on the goals that they have actually realized on behalf of the organization. Extended workforce is what we create as a workforce program to manage the extended level. Then and there, we'll talk about performance metrics analytics, provide qualitative, quantitative analysis for a business. Now, this is a case where we need to understand what we are performing for a quarter, for a fiscal year, and define whether this metrics has been properly used and usage. This will relate us towards the business strategy and make us align this monitoring, continuous monitoring, conducting of multi-dimensional analysis so as to remove any element of biasness that might creep in. For future predictive analysis, use this analysis to indicate the focus area of the specific workforce business geographies of the organization which might need improvement. Now, what are benefits we have? We achieve transparency. We see the ability to assess if the agencies are receiving the services for which they are paying or not. This is what we are looking forward. Last but not the least is all the 17 things that I've already highlighted and covered in this presentation. Remember, this is your future state of HR organization model, the benefits thereof. We are talking anything and everything about HR leadership in terms of human capital strategy, organizational change, performance metrics, and analytics, HR function management. We have said everything, discussed, of which I reckon HR function management is very important. Time and payroll is pertinent to the organization. HR system and reporting definitely has to be a vibrant, otherwise the whole system crumbles down. Then comes the workforce service administration, talent process administration, learning, sourcing, selection, and deployment. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. I am sure that we have completed everything that has been mentioned in implementation, monitoring, and leading HR operation thereby. Thank you once again for watching this video.